Hello, my name's Sarah Smith and I'm a coach and talent consultant, and I own my own business called lightbulb.coach. And my background is working in financial services with a full range of early careers, from school leavers, apprentices, right through to graduates and onto early careers. And I've managed lots and lots of people through the early stages of their career right through to promotions within the business. So I've run hundreds of interviews, so I'm really excited to be able to pass on some of that tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So congratulations, you've been invited to interview, which means that your CV stood out and you're a potential candidate. You're potentially the right person for the job. So what you need to do now is to prepare in advance for that interview. So regardless of the format, it might be face-to-face, it might be virtually, you need to think about how you're going to get there. If it's face-to-face, where is the venue? Will you be able to get there on time? So even if you can, have a dry run of that journey. It means you're not going to be late, it means you're not going to be flustered, and you don't have to worry in advance of where you have to go. If it's an online interview, think about a safe space, a quiet space for you to conduct the interview. Test out the technology beforehand. Test out the link that they send you. And the great thing about a virtual interview is that you can have your CV and your notes to hand and it doesn't look too obvious. Make sure you know the interviewer's name, and even better if you can use their name during the interview. There's nothing more personal than using someone's name. So how else can you prepare for the interview? Well, you already know a little bit about the company because you should have really researched it before you've applied for it. You want the job, right? So you must know a bit more about the company. So the best thing to do now at this stage is to find out a little bit more about the company. So even if you just search in Google the company's name and then news, it will give you the most up-to-date information about that organisation. So in the interview, you can ask questions about the latest news, or if the interviewer asks you, what do you know about the company, because they probably will, you have an extra little nugget of information. All of the candidates will have looked on the website and they will be able to repeat back what they've read. But the interviewer is really looking for something a little bit extra. What have you done that's extra, that goes above and beyond what the other applicants have done? In the interview, there's going to be two different aspects that they're going to want to ask you about. The technical competencies, which is the skills and the knowledge that you have, and also on behavioural competencies, which are much more around your own characteristics and your own values and traits. So the questions that they may ask will relate to your CV, so re-familiarise yourself with your CV. And questions that come up might be something like, tell me a bit about yourself. And that's just kind of one of the worst questions that you can ask, because in your mind you're thinking, I don't know, what do I say? But we are the experts in ourselves, so be confident that what you're going to say about yourself is right. But think about what you're willing to share. So have in advance some keywords or some phrases that you're happy to repeat. So it could be something like, I like playing sports, I play for a local team, I have a part-time job that I really enjoy and it's a Saturday job, I enjoy going out with my friends, I enjoy spending time with my family, I like watching films, but you know, right now we can't really go and watch so many films, so what do you do instead? So telling the interviewer a little bit about yourself tells them what kind of character you are, what's your personality like. So one of the questions the interviewer might ask is around your strengths and weaknesses. So your strengths are something that you're really good at, that you're really confident doing, that you feel comfortable doing. And your weaknesses are something that you feel less comfortable doing, that you might need to put more effort and energy into. And the reason they're asking is that they want to hear how you answer those questions. And turning those weaknesses or those limitations, whatever word they want to use to describe that, is how you turn that into a positive. So you might not be so comfortable meeting people for the first time. So what you've been doing is really making a concerted effort to get to know people that you haven't met before and have a bit more courage to do that. What that tells the interviewer is that you're willing to increase your learning, that you're willing to develop as a person. So what makes you suitable for this role is another question that you might be asked. Again, it's not a trick question. Why do you want this job? What is it about the job that you're interested in? It might be something to do with the product, with the brand. It might be the opportunity to develop. So really consider before the interview why you've applied for the job so that you're able to tell them in a really kind of confident and passionate way. Now, you may be asked why you're applying for this role, and it's really important that you think about this in advance. So what is it about the role that you're really interested in? Is it the brand? Is it the people? Is it the reputation? Is it the opportunity to learn? That also tells the interviewer that you've done lots of research and thought about why you've applied for this role. It's not just a case of I threw my CV in and hope for the best. So that gives a really good impression of you to the interviewer. You might also be asked what motivates you. So what does get you out of your bed in the morning? So what's going to get you into work every day? Is it because you want to be part of something, you enjoy working with other people, you like a challenge? So these are some of the more popular questions that you might be asked in the interview. And the key is to be prepared to think about the worst possible question you could be asked and have an answer to it. Because the chances are you're not going to be asked that question. They want you to do well. They're going to ask questions that they feel that you'll be able to answer, but how you answer them and how you handle pressure is really important. Now, one tip, if you get offered a drink, if it's a face-to-face interview, accept it, even if you've got no intention of drinking it. Having that glass of water there is a saviour at times. If you're asked a question and you need a little minute to kind of compose yourself, you just take a sip. That gives you a couple of seconds to think, and then you're composed again. Without that, it might feel like you're struggling a little bit to think of the answer. So another great tip is if the interviewer has asked a question that you're not quite sure of the answer, or you haven't quite heard them clearly, don't be afraid to say, could you repeat the question in a different way? Or could you just repeat the question for me? It's okay to do that, and it means that the answer that you give is really accurate rather than you just trying to guess what they've said. It may seem really simple, but having great manners, saying please and thank you, and thanking the interviewer for their time is a great way to create a great impression. Simple things like smiling, even behind the mask, you can see it in the eyes. So giving that great impression is about making them feel good about the experience that you've had. So in the interview, the questions that come up will ask for evidence of that competency. So for example, tell me about a time that you've had to go through something difficult and come out the other side. Always a popular question. So there's a really simple acronym for you to remember. STAR. So S-T-A-R. So S stands for situation. So describe the situation. So for example, there was a teammate that I didn't particularly get on with. I couldn't really quite put my finger on why, but we seemed to kind of conflict every time we came together. T, the task. What was the task? Well, we had to get on because we worked together within the team. Our team were depending on our contribution, and when we were conflicting, we weren't performing. A, what action did you take? I made a conscious decision to get to know this person better. We had to get over this conflict that we had. So I intentionally spent more time with the individual and found that we had much more in common than we had initially thought, and we started to get on lots more. What was the result? R. The result was that we were able to play together really well, which meant that the team benefited from our problems being resolved, and we were able to perform better as a collective team. This tells the interviewer that you've thought through how to get over an issue and that you've taken action. Always provide evidence for the statements that you make. I'm a good team player. Give examples. Who's given you that feedback? How do you know? I work well on my own initiative. Again, how do you know? Give examples of that. The main thing to remember about attending an interview is to be honest, tell the truth, don't embellish, and don't tell little white lies because they're really easy to spot. The interviewer is going to catch you out, and that doesn't give the right impression of you. Try and relax as much as possible when you get to the interview. It's really easy for us when we're nervous, our breath comes up to our chest. So when we talk, it's like really quite we struggle and it's shallow breath. When we take deep breaths, we can breathe into the belly, and that makes us relax. It pushes everything down. So when we have deep breaths, it really calms our nerves. Our voices are lowered, and it seems more steady. So give yourself time before the interview to compose yourself, to give yourself those deep breaths so that you're ready to make a great impression. So remember, be prepared, do the research on the organisation, remember the interviewers' names. Always have answers to the questions that you're expecting, or be able to adapt them to the questions that come up in the interview. Stay relaxed, remember your manners, and smile. Best of luck for all the interviews that you have coming up.